house just went viral on Zillow. The listing basically said, you can't go inside, there's a person living there, and you have to remove them.
We finally opened Westlake Village, plus the market is doing something sneaky, and we've got new inventory to show.
And a home's gone wild story with 15 fish tanks that ends in a standoff.
This is Realty Talk. Let's get into it.
All right, welcome back. Your favorite podcast on the planet, Realty Talk. To my right, we have the queen of the closing table, coming off a very hot July in a cold market.
Yes.
We'll talk more about that.
Yes, and that is the queen of the closing table. That would be me. I don't know if you announced that, but...
Oh, that is, yes, Suzanne, the queen of the closing table, founder, CEO of Innovate Realty. And I am the other host, Paul Hansen, known as Paul Fix-It-All Hansen. And I run on a day-to-day business, Buy House. So if you're newer to our podcast, there are other things that we do, lots of other businesses, but those are our claim to fame.
I would say those take the most of our time. That's where we can put those in the basket. Yeah.
So we have a jam-packed list of items to talk about today.
Yeah, we had a big week last week. So at Innovate Realty, we finally launched our Westlake Village office. So super excited for that. We did our grand opening. We had all the people there again. So we're coming off of the Calabasas grand opening ribbon cutting event the week before. So it wasn't just a fluke. We had all of the local politicians for Westlake as well. And it was an amazing event. So I think the highlight may have been nothing to do with real estate, politicians, or anything else, but we actually had someone there that, I'm going to mess up his name, so I'm not even going to try. We'll insert it later, that made custom lollipops and like really cool lollipops. So not like,
I think listeners are going to think like a big circular, a different multicolored lollipop at the fair or whatever. Yeah. These are like, I didn't get to go.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of FOMO.
It was very sad.
But there were like dragons and different designs.
Hummingbirds. And actually he could create anything. So
that's crazy.
I was super bummed because, when we're at these events, there is not even a minute to do literally anything. And anytime you relocate, someone else is grabbing you and talking to you. So I didn't get to make it to him, but I didn't get a GG lollipop, which I'm really sad about.
You could show him a picture and then he would make it?
Exactly. Oh. Yeah. So somebody did that with their other dog from our escrow company. So I was pretty bummed about that. I feel like
that's brutal.
We have to have him back just because I need a GG lollipop.
Maybe a holiday party.
Yeah. I mean, it was a huge hit. I mean, he's done celebrity events. He's worked with literally everyone. He had his little photo book with Kim K and Trump and, you name it. They were in there. So yeah, he's a big hit.
So I don't know how to take that because I obviously didn't get to go to the event, but the highlight of the whole event was the guy making lollipops, not the launch of an office and all this exciting stuff.
It sounds crazy, but you got to give credit where credit's due. He had the crowds, so.
I guess in fairness, we didn't really talk about it a week ago, but during our Calabasas office launch, I think the highlight was the cheese board.
No.
Not necessarily the launch.
Okay, I do feel like that was an amazing display of cheese, but I think their launch highlight was we had some band members from Rod Stewart.
Yeah.
And saxophone player and guitar. The music was amazing. And so they were also at the Westlake event and definitely huge hits. So.
But the Candyman, Willy Wonka.
I think he stole the show.
Stole the show from Rod Stewart's band.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that was actually an interesting dynamic of the party because the space is so beautiful.
Yeah, it's big too.
If we could insert the space, it's big. And so there's two sides, basically like two separate offices. So band was in one side, Candy on the other side. And I do feel like Candy won. So,
Everyone,
I have to say. But yeah, so that was great.
So before we move on to the next segment, that takes Innovate to 8 offices in Southern California. What does the future look like? We're midway through the year. Are there additional offices getting launched? What does the next year look like?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think one thing that we've done a really great job of is growing with intention. So we're growing around good people, you know, and I think that that's the biggest difference is we're not just picking a market and saying like we're going to do business here now. We've found really great people and we're plugging into those markets because of those people.
Got it. Yeah. Obviously, I'm aware of all of those things, but I want our listeners to understand. So the growth pathway looks like finding great teammates that want to join our team.
Yeah.
Vetting them out heavily if they're the right fit for us, because not every agent is the right fit.
Right. Yeah.
But if they are, then we look at what kind of space they need, and not it's kind of interesting. Not every team or agent needs space.
Yeah.
There's kind of a divide. There are agents that need to get out of their house, that don't like working out of a Starbucks, and maybe that aren't that busy doing deal flow. So they need a space to go and be productive.
Yeah.
And then there are agents, I know a lot of people that are agents that just never go to an office.
Yeah.
They're either at home or they're on a listing appointment or they go to a Starbucks or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of the way they operate.
Yeah.
But it seems like there's not really, and we meet a lot of different people that are interested in joining our brokerage. It doesn't seem like there's much in between. It's either like I need an office or I don't want an office.
Yeah,
it's one or the other.
It's funny. Someone asked me recently, like, is it an indicator of an agent's success whether they come into the office or not? And it's really not. I think more often it's like when agents are out in the field so much, that's their work. That's their job. That's what they should be doing. But also, I do feel like, especially if you are, calling leads or doing follow-up office. Obviously you got to go print somewhere. Like our industry is still heavy on the print. But with the exception of that, it's not really necessary.
Yep.
One thing I will say though is I do feel that some of the recent offices that we've opened, they are stronger in that presence, and it does contribute to our culture as well, which is important to us, So I think it's really like, what are you looking for from a quote unquote office?
Yep.
And like what does that match with what we bring to the table, And I think that we're really flexible with the understanding of what people need in the beginning. And then we can meet them where they are,
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like to me, from a brokerage standpoint, depending on the market you're moving into, having a physical location sometimes is more of a billboard to let the community know that you've kind of planted the flag and that you have agents and that you're doing business there. But then over time, as those agents get productive, the office becomes less important.
Right.
So, I think it's just different phases. But I certainly think over the next 20 years, physical offices for a team or even a brokerage are going to become less important.
Yeah, I agree.
Just because that's the way people are interacting. They're actually interacting less in person. That's not necessarily a good thing. I just think it'll be
No, I think it's already happened. Like everyone goes back to during COVID. It's like before COVID, everyone was in the office. During COVID, everyone made an at-home office. Everyone, it's not like it was hard to do.
Yeah.
Zoom took off, all the things. So I think it's just, we have evolved past having to go into the office to do every little thing. And I think that's okay, in some aspects where it's like, there's time savers with that it's like, if it's not necessary to go in, take that time back, but be productive with that time,
I was laughing because last week I had a conversation with a friend that I haven't talked to in a very long time. and it was kind of later in the day. He's like, "Oh man, I gotta go. I have to get to a Zoom happy hour." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh,
People
a
are
Zoom
doing
happy
that?
hour? Why are you doing that still?" But I remember back to COVID, we talked through it. It's like, oh man, and I mean, you couldn't do anything else.
Yeah.
So you'd work your day at home, and then it was like, hey, I'm going to jump on a 30-minute happy hour. You get a beer or a glass of wine or something. You sit in your house and you're talking to all these people you work with.
I do need to know though, like, why is that still happening?
I don't know. I asked
either all remote or something, like in different locations.
But how depressing. Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
Interesting. Yeah, I think I successfully did like one of those during COVID. I don't think
painful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just awkward.
Okay. Should we move away from that and discuss the markets?
Yeah, let's talk about it. I would almost call you the expert right now because you said you just got through 200 pages or so about the market. So tell our listeners.
I mean, I think, my perspective is obviously going to be incredibly biased to the markets that we operate in on the buy house side. So for newer listeners, buy house is a single family fix and flip investor. We buy stuff, fix it up, sell it. I run that on a day-to-day basis. But we have other operating businesses. So, we have the brokerage and we have a private lending arm where we lend capital to fix and flip investors or ground up developers. And so I obviously focused a lot on the California markets because that's where we do a lot of our business. But the reason it was actually a presentation, put together by, it's a well-known business that focuses on, lending, the RTL space, residential transition lending is what it stands for. And then the fix and flip markets. And it was a national presentation. So, net, we're coming basically out of the worst July in terms of new sales that we've seen in, I think, 14 years. Wow. So at a national level, there are less buyers. Usually there's a little bit of a July slowdown because, kids are out of school, people are traveling, enjoying the summer or whatever. Yeah. But this has been one of the worst Julys or coming out of that we've seen in a very long time. One of the interesting data points, because it talks a lot about in these reports, it looks at also just, the national home builders, because dating back to 2008, 2009, or leading into that, we were building tons and tons of new inventory. And then the collapse takes place and then the builders just have a screeching halt because they don't have access to financing. And so still today, and that produced basically a ginormous shortage of housing because they stopped building for a long time. So today we're still 5.5 million units short at a national level. So we need 5.5 million more homes to be kind of par with what, with what they believe. And so this is one of the first quarters that we're coming out of where builders were, building more new starts than actual transactions were happening, which is not necessarily a good thing because they want to move their inventory right when it's complete. Yeah. And it was a pretty large ratio. And so, with waning demand and interest rates going up above 6.6%, and no real indication that rates are going to come down for a while with inflation where it's at. Yeah. That's kind of a scary statistic. Right. The markets that we operate in, there's not a whole lot of new inventory being built. You have to go further east, right? Because there's just not a lot of land to go and gobble up and build new inventory. And so, from a fix and flip standpoint, we are still selling stuff. We still sold 3 or 4 homes in July, but the numbers that we're selling those homes for, depending on the asset, there's a lot of variation. I mean, we had a couple deals that we sold for right at, or maybe a little bit more than we thought we'd sell it for. And then we've had a few in the last 60 days that we sold for way below. And a lot of it's just that, we don't have a lot of interest, so we might go to market, and in the first 45 days only receive 1 offer, which actually is still really good. If you think back 20 or 30 years, sometimes it would take 90 days to move single family inventory. Right. So I think what we're still moving through, we talked about it a week ago, we're still moving through this kind of transition of expectations. And I still fall in mercy to this thought process, but it's like, the last 6 years, The minute we were done with renovating an asset, we put it on market, we're getting offers right out of the gate.
Right.
And we can sell something in 30, 40, 50 days pretty regularly, unless there's some sort of weird issue.
Yeah.
If you look back 20 years ago or further, 90 days to get your first offer wasn't irregular. That would be kind of a normal market. In fact, historically, that's what they would say. 90 days, if that's the average days on market or less, is a seller's market, and over 90 days would be a buyer's market. And we're looking in pockets of Southern California where we see 45 days is the average days on market, or maybe 60 days. And we're calling this more of a buyer's market because there's still just not that many active buyers.
Right.
And I think that, or at least my personal opinion of why that's the case, is that and we talked about it at length over the last year, but the vast majority of people have 3, 4, even 5% mortgages. So they really can't afford to go and buy, if they have one extra child and they want one extra room, they're waiting because they can't afford to step into a 6.6 or 6.7% mortgage.
Yeah.
Especially because the asset value hasn't really adjusted that much. I mean, certain pockets have a little bit, but not really. And some actually pockets in Southern California have appreciated, 3, 4%. So, anyways, that's a long-winded way of saying, like, it's been a really slow summer.
Yeah.
It's been the slowest July that the nation's seen in a very long time. We're feeling it on the buy house side a little bit, but I'm excited to transition away from me and buy house because Innovate had an incredible July.
Yeah, we did have a decent July. We had some record-breaking sales.
Best month of the year, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, it speaks to if you're putting in the work, because I think some of those transactions had been a long time coming. So I don't know if it's specifically about, the time of the year that we can really relate it to, but we are coming off a positive month. And so I guess my question is for you, because you're talking about all the stats, and how it relates to you. But we have a lot of listeners that are real estate agents. So do you think that real estate agents should be scared by that information? Or how do you think they should adapt in this type of a market?
Yeah. So full disclosure, I'm not a real estate agent. I've never been licensed. I've thought about it a lot of different times, but I call myself a dumb entrepreneur with a lot of energy. So I like creating value and building teams and building a business around a specific service or problem or product or whatever. And so if you put my mind into that question, I go to the opposite place. I think it's an incredible time to be a real estate agent, because when there's kind of noise in the market, right? Rates are high, inflation's high. What that probably means is, in California, there are 557,000 licensed real estate agents, I think. And by definition, it's a Pareto market where the top 20% do 80% of the volume and the bottom 80% do 20%. So the bottom 450,000 real estate agents are making no money in today's market, right?
Yeah.
And so if you look at that and you go, man, in a great market, maybe there's half of the agents that are doing okay.
Yeah.
I look at that as an opportunity where there are 450,000 people now that I would normally be competing against to do a deal that I'm probably not competing against.
Yeah. They're going out, they're getting part-time jobs or full-time jobs.
Something, right? And so, and I just think that generally, and we talked about it in the past, as a real estate agent, the way you create value is by finding a way to generate a lead with either a buyer or a seller, where that person trusts you and they understand your message or your value proposition, so they choose you to represent them in a transaction.
Right.
Generally, in all businesses, if the lead is hard to create, it's really difficult to create, you're going to have less competition. The easier the lead is to create, the more competition you're going to have. And so in this market, to me, it's a true market where leads are tough to generate. There are not that many transactions happening. There are 40% less transactions happening year over year,
right?
As a nation. So there are more people competing for a smaller number of deals. If you can find a way to be more competitive in that market by doing simple things like showing up, prospecting, cold calling, knocking on doors, like calling on your referrals, just being amazing when you're in a transaction.
Yeah.
I think you're going to naturally capture a piece of the market or the market share that as the market gets better, you'll retain.
Right.
So if we, in the next 18 months or 24 months, go back to normal where we increase total transactions by 40%, if your share of that is 1%, that 1% will probably linearly grow.
Right.
And you're going to make 40% more money or 100% more money,
Yeah.
in that transition if you continue to grind. But generally, that's not a popular opinion, I would say, because what I'm saying is go do the things that nobody else is willing to do.
Yeah. You have to do
to find the deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we've already seen it even within the brokerage where, we have agents that have been putting in the work and they are establishing a name for themselves, where maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago, there were a lot more people that they would have to kind of, get through to make that name. So I do feel like I agree. I think we've seen that already. And for me, I mean, all it is an opportunity for agents. It's the top. And the best of the best of in any industry never goes anywhere. If they stay and they make it through, they're coming out on the other side and they're still going to be the top. So I think it's just more motivation on how to get to the top and finding a path to do that.
I think, the last thing I'll say about it is, it really is just a personal mindset. If you wake up and you're optimistic and you're driven and you're focused on your North Star, whatever that big, scary goal is, and you take action every day, you're probably going to find a way to be successful. If you're negative and poo-poo and the market sucks and, you're kind of a victim of what's occurring, then you're probably never going to find that level of success. Right. And I can think back, to conversations in 2022 where agents were complaining that, oh my gosh, I have this buyer and I'm competing against 25 other offers, or I have this seller.
I can't get accepted. Yeah.
Yeah. Or I have a listing and they're like 35 different offers and I got to sift through all of them. My seller doesn't know what to do. And it's like, okay, you're complaining about opportunity in business. And instead of complaining about that today, what they're complaining about is, man, I don't have anyone to go and list their property for. Nobody's out buying. It's like, okay, if you just look at where you were in 2022 and where you are today, nothing has changed because your behavior is the same and your attitude sucks.
Right. And I know someone that's always buying. He's actually sitting right next to me.
Yes.
So I think, that's another piece of it. It's, I think, once you've been in the industry long enough, or even if you haven't, but you can identify these ebbs and flows and, you think back to 2008, there were still deals being done.
That's
so,
ton of deals.
Sometimes you have to pivot your approach and maybe, this isn't a traditional market that you're used to, but who's still buying and how do you still do business and identify that,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's obviously not easy going and doing those things. I think you need to be around a culture and a team that supports you to do it, unless you're just a mercenary and a cold-blooded killer. But if you are, that probably means that you don't need that team or that support. But that's my shameless plug on why you should join one of our new offices in Westlake Village or Calabasas. If you're not doing as many deals as you would like to and you live in those markets, you know where to go.
We know the place.
And we have lollipops and, and great music.
Yeah.
Rod Stewart.
Perfect. Okay. Well, on that note, we do have some cool inventory and we still have some great properties. I think where, buyers can really, I don't want to say take advantage, but the properties that we have right now in Mar Vista, we've talked about them before. We have one in escrow. And so we have 5 left now. And I think my thought is when this property closes, those other properties are going to fly because it is literally like the best deal you can get out there. Rooftop decks, like it's just a super cool, brand new
And
property.
The view of the city from the rooftop deck is incredible at night.
Yeah.
They're like plumbed in fire pits. It's cool.
Yeah. And Mar Vista is a cool area in LA too.
Some of the best schools in LA.
Yeah. So anyway, I feel like those other properties are going to start flying, and some of our best units are still available, which is crazy. The first one was not. I mean, it's a great property. I think the highlight of this one is it has a balcony off the primary suite. But there are some other really cool layouts still available.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of laughing inside because leading into this segment, you said that I'm not saying you could take advantage, but in July, I definitely felt taken advantage of as a seller, not by any agent or you or any other person, just that like, if I had to go sell something, which in my business, I have to sell something.
Yeah.
When I finish construction, I don't have a model where I'm going to hold it and rent it out.
Right.
I have to sell it, and I got to go get the equity that I have in it back, and then I got to move on.
Yeah.
And I had those conversations in July where it's like, well, man, what if you just wait another 45 days? I mean, it doesn't make sense to do that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, what I'm saying is probably going to hurt me in August. But if I'm a buyer out there, or if I'm even relatively close to getting ready to buy, I would just go in and put the number that works for you in front of the seller. You have no idea what they're willing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially if they've been sitting for 30 days or 40 days or more.
Yeah. Buyers have such a great opportunity
Right now.
I mean, between, you know, getting closing costs for rate buy downs, like there are so many advantages for buyers in this market. So we're giving away secrets because you're a seller.
Yeah. I mean, it trickles down into every part, like even, you know, even service fees. I mean, I think there are servicers like title and escrow and, you know, notaries, like everyone's willing to take a little bit less to get a deal done today.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, with that, I think we have, I was almost going to go because I'm really excited to hear about the fish tanks, but we have a Zillow listing that broke the internet that we have to talk about first.
Yes. So this is a home in Nunn, Colorado, which I don't really know where that's at.
Okay.
But it had 4 million plus views on X, formerly known as Twitter. The actual listing says you cannot tour or inspect it before you buy it.
Okay.
So you got to go and buy this basically sight unseen.
Okay.
Which, by the way, I've done before.
I was gonna call that out because you've done that.
It's a terrible decision. The listing agent has never even been inside. So the agent that's listing, how is that even possible? So can you do, I don't know if you can do that. Can you do that in California?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think you can. I think you can because you're disclosing what you know about the property.
And you just wave the visual
I mean, you could do an exterior visual and then you would just say, like, I have not seen the inside of the property.
So you buy it as is with this person. I'm assuming this is a person. They just say occupant. Maybe it's a bear.
There's more.
And then your responsibility is to remove that occupant. And that's essentially what it says. So this person, her late husband bought the house in 2026. He died in a car crash. And she's raising her kids there ever since. She's
2006. So she's been there
20 years.
20 years. And apparently this has been going on for quite some time. She's just fighting foreclosure.
Wow. So bottom line, if you're in the market, you want to buy a house at a discount. Oh, man.
Okay. I mean, well, so you outed yourself. You have done this before.
Yeah. I've purchased, I think I know two properties. Two. I think it's just two. I purchased two properties through probate that were not occupied.
Okay.
So the difference in this scenario was I knew I didn't have to go through any evictions or any weird things, but it was like, here's an opportunity. You have to close in like 72 hours. Here's the number. On paper, the numbers look great. There was even downside protection for foundation issues or plumbing issues or all those other things. But I had to go and buy these things without being able to physically inspect or walk the property.
Yeah.
Which was really scary.
Yeah. And did they both go not great?
Yeah.
I mean, know one of them did not go well, but I don't know if the other.
Yeah. I mean, the way I would characterize it is that, you know, we our business model is buy something, fix it up, and sell it quickly. We want to be in and out of inventory in 6 to 12 months.
Right.
12 months is a long hold. 6 months is ideal. Both of these assets specifically took longer to trade than I anticipated. One of them, it was more just I didn't want to go and execute the final plan. So we ended up okay on the deal, but it had major foundation issues.
Yeah.
And when you looked at it, the cost to go and repair the foundation would not have really made sense with the structure that was there, but the lot was really great.
Yeah.
So what we ended up doing was re-entitling the land to move away from a single family unit to get some density for 4 units. And then we scraped it and then delivered the plans RTI to a developer that wanted to buy it. And
Got it.
if I would have had an appetite to own a rental, a 4-plex rental in that specific pocket, it would have been a great deal.
Yeah.
But I did not want to be a landlord in that pocket.
Got it.
Yeah.
So it just wasn't for you in that situation.
But the other one was terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, the other one. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, ultimately there's just too many unknowns, I think, in that scenario, especially like your scenario didn't even have an occupant.
Yeah.
But having someone in the property, it's just too much of a risk. I mean, what are you getting at that point? You just don't know.
Yeah, there's always a number. That's the other thing I tell our acquisition team all the time. Like, there's always a number, right? The seller may not like our number, but there's always a number for something.
Right.
So when we run into unique situations,
Yeah.
like if I were in that market, if I was in Nunn, Colorado, let's say we thought that home was going to be worth $1 million once it was fixed up.
Yeah.
So that's your ARV, your after renovation value. Normally, I'm a buyer between 65 and 70%. So I'm buying that for 650 to 700 because I know I'm going to have some, renovation costs, and I'm going to have transaction costs on both sides, and then whatever my carry costs are going to be. And my net goal is to make, between 80 and 100 grand on that deal. In this situation, what I generally would do is think about what my cost is. Worst case scenario to run a full eviction once I own the property.
Right.
And then you also have to so from a legal standpoint, what is it going to cost our attorneys and whatnot? And then how long am I going to hold that asset for a legal eviction?
Right.
Every county's different. And then I just get back to a number. I'd probably want a higher return with that kind of risk, but maybe I'm a buyer at like 450 or 500. So there's always a number.
Yeah.
And it would be worth doing it.
And
but
maybe
generally,
for you, where like an average buyer, absolutely not. Like that's not going to a buyer in the market. That's going to someone like you, or
even if it's an investor that has a little bit of experience, I wouldn't recommend doing that deal.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be super aggressive. You have to have a great attorney. You have to kind of know how to work through those dynamics.
Yeah.
Otherwise it could end very badly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe this lady's going to be in here for another 20 years. Just living for free.
Okay. All right. Well, moving on. We got Homes Gone Wild now. So I'm excited. I'm ready for this because I haven't heard this story. You haven't read the story. You never know what we're going to get here. So.
Okay. So before I read this though, what's the strangest thing you've ever walked into at a listing and how did you react?
I feel like I've been pretty lucky at listings where I haven't had anything super strange. I feel like most of the time, I'm pretty diligent about like these are scheduled, these are organized, expectations are there. So I don't know. Like as far as a listing goes, I can't say that I've walked into anything super crazy. Now, we have a lot of agent stories. Like I can't say the same for all of my agents. But me as a whole, I feel like there's nothing that screams that interesting that I would need to share.
Okay.
But I'm ready to hear the story.
Okay, so for our newer listeners, if this is the first time you've listened to the podcast, Homes Gone Wild is a segment where I get to read a story that I have not seen before. I'm excited. And we hear that the way I read these stories in my interactions are somewhat comical for some reason, which I don't know why. But here we go. So on this week's segment of Homes Gone Wild, the story was submitted by Cry Bully Mods Suck.
Okay. Well, at least we could say it this week.
That's right.
Because
But
last week they threw us for a loop.
A curveball.
On air.
Cry bully. Okay. Oh boy. This was my very first listing ever, a house in a decent middle-class neighborhood. From the first meeting, it was obvious the place needed work, but it was fine. Totally normal. I get the photos, the listing goes live, a few showings out of the gate, and zero feedback. Okay, it happens. Well, how do you know that it happens?
Yeah,
Never actually listed anything.
First timer, okay.
5 days in, I finally line up my first buyer to actually see it, and I do not know what happened between the listing going live and the second I opened the front door, but it was like stepping into a parallel universe. There were algae-crusted fish tanks, at least 15 of them. Wait, so these are not there when they launch the listing and take photos, and now they're there.
Oh, no.
Okay, so they were not there on photo day. The whole house was basically a swamp, and I think they'd smoked something like 30 cartons of cigarettes with every door, window, and vent sealed shut because the place reeked. And that cat urine, his only word for it was aggressive. Oh, and the owners were still asleep naked at 2 p.m. for a confirmed showing, and no, not the kind of people you'd ever want to see that way.
Ouch, okay.
That's a dig. There's somebody for everyone. Yeah. But here's the kicker. The following week, I got a call from the police asking me to come open the house because one of the owners had gone on a crime spree and barricaded himself inside. The cops saw my yard sign out front and called me to come pop the lockbox. This seems crazy. Wouldn't they just kick the door?
Yeah.
Wild intro to real estate. 2 weeks later, that thing finally went under contract and we could not close fast enough to get me out of there.
Okay, this doesn't even seem believable to me. Like, how would all of this go down in like 5 days? I mean, I get like crazy things could happen, but
so you get a listing, you get photos, and you go live, and then within 2 weeks, 15 fish
your
tanks
house
come
is
in.
a swamp.
Yeah.
That
50 packs of cigarettes are smoked. I mean, this was a party.
Okay.
This was probably just a raging party.
And like maybe they just decided like the cats could just, live their best lives in there. Like
the seller was naked.
I feel like there had to have been signs, before this. So
yeah,
I just have a lot of questions. Like, I think this is a wild story, but I want to know like how this just kind of appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah, my guess is that it didn't just appear.
Mm-hmm.
There's a strong chance that Cry Bully Mod Suck is not fully telling the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, like
I hope you're listening. I'm looking you
we
in
need
the
to
eyes.
know. We need to know.
If it is true, it's crazy.
Okay, so I did, while you were talking, I did actually remember the craziest. And so for me, like it's rough to share the things that we have seen.
Yeah.
Because I did have I think I told you I had a murder-suicide listing. And there were new owners in since that. So that one, wasn't too crazy. Definitely like eerie feelings in the house. But I did do a listing presentation for someone also that had a death in the home, and someone had shot themselves like in one of the bedrooms. And so there was still like some things happening there that I was like, I really wish that I was not at this property right now. And it's like, it's crazy because I think my agents, I have heard so many of those stories, because what do you do after something like that happens? Like, you're going to sell the house, you don't want to keep that house. So you'd be surprised. Like, I actually feel like that's fairly common, too. You've had some of those pop up.
Yeah, a week ago we were driving to Calabasas and we got detoured, through this random part of LA, and I had this like deja vu moment where we were a street away from a house where I had gone out early on in the Bye Bye house. We were advertising on TV and radio. Mm-hmm. Sellers would come to us off market, and we'd go and walk through their properties, and man, I'd probably gone on 200 or 300 what would be considered a listing appointment, but it's really a cash offer appointment. I'm going to show up to try to, buy the house.
Yeah.
And this lady was like, you can see every room except for the top one on the right. My son's in there and he's not stable, I don't think she said stable, but you just can't go in there. But then, after I walked through the whole property, I'm like, well, I kind of need to see the room. And she's like, well, it's just not possible. So whatever the number needs to be, just write the number. Anyways, fast forward, like as we were trying to get a deal done, he had like barricaded himself in the room and said that he was going to shoot anyone that came in the house and himself.
Oh man.
And I had opened escrow on that deal and I had a deposit in and I'm like, okay, I'm not buying this.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not worth it.
Yeah. And we're done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. But I think, it's funny. I don't feel like people know. It's like the things that you see in the real estate world.
Yeah.
It's pretty special. I mean, we talk about how real estate agents have to be like in front of the camera all the time now. So it's like there are so many hats and so many experiences that just, kind of don't get the attention I think they should at times, for sure.
So this is our national cry to send your real stories.
Yeah.
If they're fabricated, we're going to sniff it out.
Yeah.
But send your real Homes Gone Wild stories. We can't wait to read them on the show. And maybe one day we can have a guest on.
Yeah.
To tell their Homes Gone Wild story.
Yeah, I would love that.
But we'd have to probably find a way to have our team like vet the story first, because my interaction or my reaction might be a little. Yeah.
It's true.
Like if Cry Bully was here, I'd be like, dude, come on.
Yeah.
You're lying, right?
This seems a little unrealistic.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. It's a big day.
Yeah.
Anything else that we need to cover?
I think we nailed it. I think, to sum it all up, Innovate Realty opening offices in a crazy market.
Yeah.
But positive. Everyone's staying positive. I think, we've got the right people in the right places. And also it's a great time for buyers. I think, if you didn't hear anything else with this podcast today, it's that buyers have some opportunity and advantages in today's market.
Awesome.
Yeah.
If you haven't done so, hit the subscribe button. It helps us out a lot. We'll see you next week on Realty Talk.
Yeah.